Nathan Camarillo, executive producer on Crysis 2.
Start spreading the news.
Working on consoles has been quite challenging in the fact that the technology on the current consoles is 5 years old. So, you know, as you guys will see today, playing through one of the single-player levels that we're showing, Dark Heart, we're doing some really amazing stuff with console technology that's 5 years old. I mean, that's basically, for Crytek, like a 5-year-old PC. And the great thing about CryEngine 3 is it scales from working with Xbox and 360, which, like I said, are 5 years old, to the newest PC and taking full advantage of that as well. So it's a really powerful engine, a really powerful platform, and it's helped us optimize a lot of code on the PC side as well to be able to do the things that we're doing on console. So PC gamers will benefit as well from the power that we've been able to harness with CryEngine 3. Well, like I said, it scales per platform. So in some cases, we're able to take advantage of more horsepower on the PC that isn't there on console. But in general, the quality that we get out is really, really strong. I mean, much better. It's rare that we've said, look, we just can't do this on console. I mean, we find a way to make it happen. We bend it to our will. So hopefully everybody will be very impressed and excited when they get to play it and see all the great things that you normally don't get to see in a single game. Crysis 1 was a phenomenal game. It's still heralded as a graphical benchmark even years after it was released. With Crysis 2, we wanted to set that benchmark again, but we wanted to improve some areas of Crysis 2 over Crysis 1. And one of the things we wanted to do was tell a much deeper fiction and a much better story that really involves and engages the player, and we brought Richard Morgan on to help us out with that. And one of the big things was having someone that cared as much about writing fiction and good quality fiction and loved playing games as much as we enjoy making games. So it was a really good chance meeting to get to work with him, and we're seeing really good results in the game and the story. And we're happy to say, I don't know if I can say it here at the event, but we're releasing a much longer than average single-player campaign, like significantly longer than what people are used to in a first-person shooter these days. I think the average is like 6 hours right now, and we're well beyond that. We're quite surprised ourselves at how long the game has actually become. And so, to support that, not only do you need great environments, great levels, you need a story that carries that across, the entire duration that you're going to play. And while I said I don't know if I can give a specific number, I mean, it's quite substantial. On top of, simultaneously offering you a full multiplayer experience, it takes about 50 hours to go through all the levels and unlock everything the first time through. I mean, it's like a huge package in one box, and we're quite surprised how much of a giant monster we've created, and like I was saying before, just harnessing the power of the consoles and bending it to our will. So we're really excited to finish the game and get everyone playing it in March. There's a lot of back and forth when you're building a game of this size, because in pre-production we were very loose. We had some ideas of cool locations in New York and some cool events that could happen to the player. The player could experience the way that the city could transform, and we did a lot of prototypes, and Sandbox in CryEngine 3 allows us to do this. So we were able to mock up a bunch of levels first, even before we had a solid story in place, and kind of create moments that we went, oh yeah, that's got a lot of promise. I don't know how we're going to use it. I don't know how it's going to work in, but when that comes together and it looks great, that's going to be awesome. And so we held on to these ideas, and then when we brought Richard on board, we kind of had a loose framework of a story kind of wrapped around some of these prototypes we had done. And then there was a lot of back and forth, a lot of negotiating and trying to figure out, we need the story to be told like this here, but we really want to have this cool moment happen for the player. And there's a lot of back and forth, and in the end, it all worked out. We had a lot of pieces to work with. We have even the stuff that didn't make it into Crysis 2. We have great ideas already for what we could do for set pieces and events for Crysis 3, because we did spend so much time prototyping. And in the end, it just makes a better game to have that kind of flexibility throughout your production cycle to really sculpt around the good ideas. It wasn't a tome of fiction that was laid down and make this game, and at the same time it wasn't like, hey, these are our levels, you have to write to this. I mean, we were really collaborative and cooperative, and it's really the best way to work. So it's an iteration all the time to improve quality. Yeah, over the course of Crysis 2, I mean, the game world has its own story, the player has its own story, the nanosuit has its own story. So you see these ebb and flow and be featured in different ways as you go from level to level. In some cases, yeah, there's some big moments of destruction, and it does escalate over the course of the game as you would expect. But it always has relevance to the story that's being told around you and the epic battle that's taking place in New York. So we have a lot of good disaster moments, but we also have very good personal moments for the player and for the nanosuit. And we're always handing back and forth. These are all, as far as storytelling goes, these are all levers that we can pull at different periods of time. So it's not just repetitive, destruction happening over and over and over, and let's just do more and more and more over the course of the entire game that you're playing. It goes back and forth, and you get to places where maybe you didn't witness the destruction, but you witness the aftermath of it, and you're walking through the rubble of part of the ruined city, and you think about what must have happened here to cause that to happen, and it's really powerful and moving in its own way, even if you don't see it occur. In other cases, like you were mentioning from Gamescom, there's these huge set piece moments that are also extremely impressive. When you're recreating a city like New York, you want it to be as signature as possible and really look like the location, but with litigation and legal reasons and architecture and copyrights, and I mean, you have to be very, very careful about what you do. And some buildings, we sought out permission and were able to get. Others that you might not see in the game, we didn't put them in for that reason because we couldn't get permission. So it's really challenging to do that the right way. And in the end, I mean, it looks like New York. It feels like New York. And you may be able to go out of, like if you live in New York, as an example, you may be able to walk out of your apartment and go, wow, this looks a lot like the level, but not exactly. But it really, really feels like it because it's just impossible to make everything one-to-one, not just from a creation standpoint of having all of that detail, having everything be in the exact spot that it is in real life, but also having the buildings look alike because there's a lot of architectural copyrights that are in place that are there to protect the artists and the art of the architects, and that's valid, that's good. It just makes it hard to make a game that looks just like real life, so we have to ride that balance. So the cool thing about Crysis 2 that separates it from all the other first-person shooters on the market is really the nanosuit. The nanosuit is the core of the Crysis IP, and it gives you the ability to have temporary stealth or temporary armor, and it's really powerful, and it makes you, like a god for a few seconds in the course of playing the game. But we also sit in between a lot of games as well, so we have very conventional weapons in some cases, like most modern military shooters do, and in some levels you are fighting humans, but we also have aliens and more science tech weapons that sit closer to the fiction of what the nanosuit is. So, we sit comfortably in between a lot of different franchises that have a lot of appeal. If you want to play it, like a military shooter, fine, just pick up all the, assault rifles and heavy machine guns and vehicles and do this stuff, If you want to play it like other games, sure, grab some of the sci-tech weapons. We have like microwave guns and Gauss cannons and a lot of cool weapons that you can use where it really changes flavor over the course of the game. And in the end, I mean, it always boils down to the nanosuit. The nanosuit really makes you more mobile, makes you survive more than a normal soldier. It's just awesome. So with Crytek, we have a long tradition of sandbox gameplay, and that also really sets the Crysis franchise apart from a lot of games that are out there. And so what we've done with Crysis 2 is some of the things that we did in Crysis 1, where we funnel the player into linear spaces to deliver story or teach them new game mechanics, but then open it back up into sandbox gameplay and big action bubbles is what we call them. Big bubbles where action takes place and the AI is more or less allowed to roam freely, the player's allowed to roam freely, and they have objectives within that space. So a lot of first-person shooters don't have this type of gameplay that Crysis has and Crysis 2 has. They're very much, you walk through the level, the same guy pops out behind the same barricade every time or every other time you play the level. It's really tight, narrow corridors, and we're not that kind of game. You can plan, you plan your attack, you jump in, you cause some mayhem, you can create booby traps, you can grief AI, you can kill a guy. hide, sneak around, kill some more, and watch everyone freak out and search for you. Whether they be humans or aliens, you know, they both hunt you, both try to find you when you cause a disturbance. You can just choose to play really stealthy and sneak through and cause as little disturbance as possible, and that's challenging in its own way. I mean, you can really try to go through really intense areas without being detected, and manage to more or less pull it off. You have to take out, you know, a couple of key people here and there to make that work, but it's a completely different play experience than jumping in, guns a-blazing, blowing everything up, and it's a really, you know, you make the game the way that you want to play it, and find ways to create your own mini game. Like we've been exploring with the type of systemic gameplay that we have. We've been trying to find new ways to make booby traps or new, you know, crazy things to do. So you can throw C4 on an alien as an example, and it sticks to him. Run up to him and grab him, throw him into the other enemies, and then detonate him. You know, so there's this kind of fun gameplay that goes beyond just cat and mouse, where you're really using the game systems in ways that you can't do in any other game, and it really promotes sandbox.